Hi guys, it's salsa making day. So you can see all the tomatoes in the background. So I wanted to give you a few tips and tricks on how to do some salsa. I actually got a lot of questions last time, which was encouraging. People reaching out, I love it. And I am going to tell you a little bit about tomatoes. I'll tell you about some canning secrets and how to know the best process how to do that. I want to show you the different kinds of tomatoes that I grew in the garden this year. This is a burgundy wine tomato, and it's called that because it's got the pinkish color to it. And they're very pretty, but they also have really thin skins, so they crack easily. I wanted to show you that. So you have to make sure you pick them ahead of time. Unless you're putting them in salsa, then it doesn't matter at all. These are green tomatoes, and they are called green zebras. They will not turn red, they're going to stay green. And you'll know when they're done. Well, you should know when all tomatoes are done when you feel them and they got a little bit of squish to them. But these have this yellow tint on the top, so that helps you know when they're ready too. This type has this yellow and orange look, and these are called pineapple tomatoes. And I cut one open. They're more named after the pineapple because they look more like a pineapple inside. These are new to my garden this year, and these are called Black Beauties. And some of them, I guess, turn all the way black, the entire thing. I didn't have any that did that, but they get pretty close. But supposedly these are some of the best tomatoes that you can eat. They're super sweet, and they have the same oxidation process that blueberries and blackberries do, which is why they're turning black. These are my beefsteak tomatoes, and beefsteak usually get humongous. And as you can see by my hands, they're not that big this year, so I don't really know what happened, but they're still gonna be really good. These are more just your average, everybody has beefsteak tomatoes, but we have our cherry tomatoes, love. These are my favorite, the Roma tomatoes. These are best for canning. You can can any tomato, but they're best for canning, and they're also really hard. Normally the texture is hard, so they're good if you're doing a tomato paste. So if you're gonna do some tomato paste, I'd suggest using the Roma tomatoes. And then I have some peppers from the garden, some green peppers, which I'll put in the salsa. I don't use too many, but I have a bunch of peppers. I know this is a jalapeno, and I know this is a cherry pepper. And then I don't know what these other ones are, but they're hot. So I will put these in my salsa as well. So that's the first process, and just tell you about tomatoes and the types they are, and there's so many more, but that's just as much room as I have in my garden. So that's as many as I can use right now. So I am going to set up some canning process, and I will get back to you in a few minutes. Okay, next part for making salsa and canning it is you need to prep your tomatoes. So I have already washed all of my tomatoes, and now they are sitting in boiling water. We need to remove all of the skin. And the easiest way to do that is to put them in boiling water for 3 minutes. They've been in there for probably about 2 minutes now. And while I'm doing that, I can show you, this is the brand that I happen to use. I find it at my local Agway. In this type of package, there's dehydrated vegetables, bell peppers, jalapeno, chili pepper, salt, garlic, and it calls for 6 pounds of tomatoes. So that's what's in here now. And all I do is beforehand, I just take a bowl, put it on my handy dandy kitchen scale, and weigh out 6 pounds of tomatoes. And those are in here now. They should be almost done, but what you want to make sure to try to do is use tomatoes that are really ripe. So you can see this. The skin is already starting to fall off, and you'll be able to peel that off really easy once they're able to touch, because they're super hot. But if they're ripe, they don't peel as easy, and you have to boil them longer. So just keep that in mind. Here's a green zebra with the skin starting to split. Woo, that's hot. So there we go. And I use all different types of tomatoes when doing salsa. I want some of the zingy salsas. which you would get from different tomatoes and from the peppers that I showed you earlier. So that's almost done. I'm going to take those out. I'm going to let them cool a little bit, and then you're able to just slide those skins off. So it's different with the salsa. You have to remove skins, but if you're canning tomatoes, just plain tomatoes, you don't have to remove the skin. It's up to you. I don't. It's an extra process that I don't want to do, so I don't. Okay, so I want to show you what the tomatoes look like when they come out of the boiling water. And like we talked about, 3 minutes if they're super ripe. If not, you're going to have to do them a little bit longer, and you can tell just by peeling up a piece of the skin and see if it just falls off. And I will show you what we got going on. So here are the tomatoes that are done. I'm very impatient, so I run cold water over them, and it helps not to get burned, and it just cools them off a little. I've already done that a little bit, but I'll show you how easily this comes off. So this is a green zebra. I use, like I said, all kinds of different tomatoes for salsa. I like the different coloring in tomatoes in the sauce. So this one is peeling right off, and there you go. There's the skin left over. And I'm going to go through this and do all of them. This one will be really easy. So this was the beauty, and skin falls right off. And you just go through this whole process, putting them in the bowl. Because you're canning them, you're not going to get rid of any of the juice as well. So that's the next process. I'm going to do this part and then get to making the salsa itself. Last part. Bunch of information is going to fly at you right now. So here's the part to really pay attention. So there's a lot going on right here. I'm going to place you down. So in here I am sauteing some of the peppers I showed you. So I have 3 hot peppers and 1 bell pepper. The reason why I'm doing this is most of our tomatoes, if not all, are pretty much cooked, and I don't want them to cook anymore because then they'll get squishy. So I sauteed this in oil for like 2 minutes, and it's just now a little soft, and I'm gonna pour this right in here. Okay? Give that a stir. And turn the stove off. The next part is, here's the container of the herbs that we bought. Pouring this in. It calls for a 1/2 cup of vinegar. I use organic vinegar, and this is just the brand that I use. So we're using a 1/2 cup, and that's going in. I won't lie, I did put an extra splash in there because I like it a little zingy, like I said before. So we got that going. This I'm gonna just simmer for a little bit, just to get all the flavors mixed together. I don't want it to cook too much more because I don't like squishy salsa, really squishy. I like a little bit of hardness to it. And here I also like chunky salsa, so that's up to you. I chopped up all the tomatoes, but I leave them a little bit chunkier because that's the way I like my salsa. So that's totally up to you. If you want more liquid to it, you can also add water as well. Some people like the runny salsa. And I'm going to show you just a canning process so you understand how it goes. I have my jars ready. They're all cleaned, and some tools that will make your life easier. So once this is done, it's not yet. Again, I'm going to give it just a few more minutes. But say it's done, let's pretend. And if you have one of these, it's nicer. They're like $2, and you can order them or Walmart. But it's nicer because it goes right in. But it's also nicer because if you have water left on the rims, they will rust. And I'll show you an example of that too. So you need to leave a little bit of space at the top. I can't touch this because, oh, here's another tool that you can use. This I think was $6. easy to pick up and move things around. But as you can see, you leave a little bit of space, and that's enough for your air to get in there, an air pocket, and seal. I want to show you, hold on a second, what happens. Sorry, that took a minute. So this is what happens if you don't get it really dry and it starts to rust. I still use them and clean them, but your lids last longer if you use this green utensil, I guess I'll call it, and it allows the rim not to get wet. So make sure these dry, especially when you wash them as well. Kind of flip them around in your sink in the drying rack and make sure that they're dry. And place a cover on. Don't forget, this is super hot, so you can't touch it. As tight as you can. And my water here, it was boiling. I took it off of the boil, and I will use my tool here just to place in the water. I'll actually open that back up and pour it back in, but wanted to show you. So I told you this last time, but I know someone's not gonna listen. They're gonna say, Erica, my jars blew up. So when you put these jars in the water, make sure it is not boiling. I've had it happen to me. It's horrible, and the bottoms of the jars explode. You don't have to worry about this normally, I don't think, if you're using the canning jar, you know, the special thing that seals your jars. But I don't use it just because, again, I just didn't want to buy one. I'm sure at some point I'll invest in one, but I'm sure almost all of you out there don't have one. So this is the easiest way to do one without buying that. I'll place 4 jars in there. I'll do 4 at a time. Another question that came in was, how long do I know to leave the jars in there, in the boiling water? And that's another thing that's up to you. So I do around 8 minutes. It's requested or suggested to be 10. I don't want my salsa to be really squishy again, so I just do the 8 minutes, sometimes 5. If I find that the tomatoes that I have already chopped up are already really squishy, then I'll do it less, so I'll do it for 5. But normally around that is when they will seal. Once you take them out of the boiling water, just make sure you put it on a surface that's not going to burn, and you'll start to hear them making noise, like clicking. If you were to click the bottom of a jar, you know, when they make that clicking, popping noise, that's going to happen. So don't be alarmed, it's a good thing. And at the end, when they're all cooled, you can check them and push down on the top, and if they push, then they're sealed. If not, I don't know. Oh, I know, you can eat it. So if you, that's funny. You can put it in your refrigerator. I'd suggest around a week, 2 max, to make sure that you consume it. But the salsa will also stay in your cupboard for I do up to a year. So that's a long-winded explanation of different tomatoes, different types of salsa. Again, I like the harder salsa, chunkier salsa, and spicy salsa, which is why I put 3 hot tomatoes, 3 hot peppers in there. If you don't want hot salsa, then don't use the hot peppers. You can also use fruits that are in that are out right now, which are like peaches. Peaches are great in salsa. I've done that quite a few times, and I'll probably do some of that because a lovely friend dropped off some peaches for me. So you can add that in too. It's all just, you know, go at your own pace, go with the flow. Now I'll probably leave that in there because it's already being sealed. But I'm gonna fill these jars up, and that's it. Off we go. So what time is it? That whole process was 1 hour and 15 minutes, and I will probably have like 6 jars of salsa. So when people give you presents for Christmas that's jarred vegetables, it takes a long time. So that's it. If you have any questions, let me know, and I will be back soon with a new recipe to share with you. Okay? Everyone have a great day. Bye.